All right, welcome to week 5. If you're watching this video, it's because you're in my English 10 class and you were gone at some point during this week. This week is a 5-day week, and I have you 3 of those 5 days, which is pretty cool. So we are going to continue on with our creative writing unit, and this is just a snapshot of showing you what we're going to talk about. A lot of the stuff that we do with this unit is always, it's much better for you to be in class for it, but it's not impossible to get it done outside of class. So if you have any questions, just let me know. You can click on Canvas to watch the video announcements. They're linked there. This week is week 5, and week 6 is next week, which means next Friday you have no school because it's a grade day. So with that being said, you need to keep in mind that I updated my late work policy. So if you after the 6 weeks have something that you did not turn in from the 6 weeks, I'm not going to grade it unless you come and talk to me. You need to communicate, explain to me what's going on, why did you submit it late or why didn't you submit it, and then we can work out a plan from there. But I'm trying to reduce all the late work that gets turned in because it's quite a bit, and then as well to teach you some self-advocacy and self-responsibility. So just keep that in mind. So, this week we're talking about the magic of storytelling and looking at lots of practical things too to help us with our own writing. So, we're going to talk about the 5 senses, like I just said, more practical tips, and then we're going to end the week by looking at some traditional and untraditional fairy tales. Last week we started something with a spotlight on famous writers and learning specifically from writers that are alive and well today. They're writing things that are more modern and current, even with platforms like movies and TV shows. So this week we have Andrew Stanton. He is one of the screenwriters, animators, and directors for lots and lots of Disney and Pixar products. You're going to watch his TED Talk. You can skip to the first 2 minutes in because you don't really need to listen to the first 2 minutes. And then you're going to answer these questions. What is the promise he describes in A Well-Told Story? What does he mean by this quote? Why does there need to be change in a story? And then what type of guidelines is he talking about with writing? And then the best stories infuse wonder. So I want you to explain to me a story that you kind of fell in love with, whether that was a movie or a book or a TV show. Tell me why you fell in love with it and what that was like when you first watched it or read it. Then we'll have some independent reading time. And then we are going to pick up where we left off with our reconstructed memoir. Last week I had you kind of map out what you wanted to do, and now I'm going to actually have you write it, and it's going to be separate from the Google Slides. It's going to be in this. It's on Canvas, linked just underneath it in a Google Doc. So it'll be different from Google Slides, and the reason for that is because it'll help me with being able to isolate that type of writing from everything else. Okay, so unfortunately, for Wednesday, if you're absent this day, it's going to be a little bit difficult. We are going to be doing an activity called Song Stories. So I'm going to play 5 different songs that are from different film scores. Film scores are like the background music in movies. And as you listen to the music, you are going to free write. Some of these songs are going to be like well known, some of them not so much. You can choose to kind of make up a story with characters that aren't in that film, or you can create a brand new world or story that has nothing to do with the film. It's totally up to you. So with this, if you're gone for this day, which is Wednesday, please let me know and we can work something out with this. But there's going to be 5 spots for you to do this. And then I'm going to have you work on finishing your reconstructed memoir from Monday. And then when we get to Friday, we'll have some independent reading time. We're going to do what I think is a pretty cool check-in with your independent reading book. It's called the 5 Senses Book Review. So you are going to describe your independent reading book using the 5 senses, and I'm going to ask you for a minimum of 3 words from each. So sight, hearing, taste, touch, and smell. Out of these 5 senses, how would you describe your book based off of these things? And I gave you an example. This is a book that I read recently. So these words, reading it, would hopefully give you an idea as to what this book is like in terms of the 5 senses. So you fill that out for me. And then we're going to watch this TED Ed video talking about how to write fiction that really comes alive. So we're going to answer the questions, how do we write descriptively? Like, why does it matter? And what can you do to practically make your writing more descriptive? Then we are going to end Friday with looking at fractured fairy tales. Fairy tales that are fractured, meaning they have a different ending or a change to the story, because fairy tales have been told over very long stretches of time in different countries, different cultures, and fractured fairy tales are when you intentionally change something for a specific effect or usually like a comedic reason. So we're going to look at two, Little Red Riding Hood and The Princess and the Pea. And then you're going to answer this question about Little Red Riding Hood. How would it be different if the point of view was told from the wolf's point of view? Is it possible to make him sympathetic? Does he possess any positive qualities? And then I want you very quickly to kind of retell the story of Little Red Riding Hood from the perspective of the wolf. Then we're going to take a look at this video. This is a very satirical, comedic effect on how stories would be different if the ending changed. This is for The Princess and the Pea. And then you are going to pick your own fairy tale out of several different options, and you are going to write a fractured fairy tale. You're not going to write it quite yet, but we're going to do some planning process on this handout that I have for you. And then we are going to take that next week and use Canva to create a children's book for that fairy tale. And then lastly, we have a First Chapter Friday book with Far from the Tree. This is one of my favorite books that I've read in a really long time. It's a realistic fiction novel about three teenagers who find out that they're all half siblings. They had no idea that they were related until they find out that one another exists because they were all put up for adoption when they were young. And their mother is passed away now. She's not living anymore. And they're trying to kind of reconnect the dots about their childhood and kind of tie that into what they're going through in the present. So Grace, Maya, and Joaquin. So that is it for week 5. If you have any questions, please let me know.